Life Audio.
Hello. Thank you for listening to Your Daily Bible Verse, the podcast that examines one verse each day to learn more about God and His will for our lives. I'm your host, Kyle Norman. After a brief message from one of our sponsors, we will read today's verse. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6.
Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Randy.
And we're from Salty Saints Podcast. We're a theology and apologetics podcast.
To find out more, subscribe at lifeaudio.com.
The United States Constitution guarantees every American fundamental rights and protection of life, liberty, and property. Salem is celebrating our founding document with a special offer, a 1953 Oman U.S. Constitution lithograph. To understand the value of these lithographs is to know the story. A master lithographer immigrant named Theodore Oman came to this country to find the American dream. 70 years ago, in 1953, Oman printed a limited number of these exceptional Constitution lithographs. Go to SalemEventsStore.com to read Oman's entire story. America's most important document stands as a testament to all Americans to maintain their liberties, freedoms, and inalienable rights. Buy it and display it proudly. Buy a gift for your family and friends, and for all the teachers in your communities. There is a limited number, so act today. Go to SalemEventsStore.com to get your exclusive 1953 Oman U.S. Constitution lithograph while supplies last. That's SalemEventsStore.com.
Today's verse is found in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. My first foray into ministry was as a summer youth pastor for a church in the small town on northern Vancouver Island. I was 18 years old and filled with youthful enthusiasm and eagerness. I believed that the summer ahead of me would be filled with majestic ministry and glorious experiences. I believed that the town would welcome me with open arms and that the church would be blessed by my presence and by my ministry. In my youthful hubris, I believed that the spiritual revival would emanate from my time there and everyone would rejoice. My summer, however, was not what I expected it to be. 2 days after I arrived, the pastor I was working with left for a 2-month vacation, effectively leaving me all by myself. The car I drove up north with broke down 4 times, and the repairs ate away all the money that I was saving during this job. I moved from residence to residence, and at one point I lived in the rusted old trailer in the back of a truck for about 3 weeks. I launched youth events and parish events to which nobody ever showed up, where I was left alone in the church, staring at an empty parking lot for 90 minutes. On almost a weekly basis, I was close to just packing it all in and going home. Because this life of ministry and faith, well, it just wasn't going the way that I thought it would. Have you ever experienced anything like that? Where life or faith just doesn't match your expectations? It can be as simple as buyer's remorse, where you buy something online only to receive something that looks nothing like the picture. It might be a restaurant recommendation that didn't pan out, or maybe it was your experience of God. Have you ever found yourself struggling because the way of faith just doesn't seem to be what you thought it would be? So what do we do when we find ourselves in that place? It probably sounds overly simplistic, but the first thing we need to do is trust that the Lord is leading us. Trust in the Lord with all our heart. This is hard when the path forward seems arduous or unclear, but this is the call of faith. Jesus calls us to step forward in faith, to follow wherever He leads, even if we don't know the way. This is why we don't rest on our own understanding, because our own understanding doesn't hold all the answers. Our own understanding can actually fail us, and it can lead us more into that which is familiar or easy, as opposed to the place where Jesus is drawing us. Just because the way of faith in the moment might seem hard or unexpected, it doesn't mean that it's not the way that Jesus is drawing us forward. Because faith often calls us outside of ourselves. Jesus sometimes moves us to the places where we are the least comfortable. But it is in those places where we uncover the powerful working of the Lord. And so even if your life with God, or if your life in the church isn't turning out as you expected it to be, can you believe that as you continue to walk in this way, you will experience the Lord's presence? Because that is the promise. Jesus doesn't promise that the way will always be easy or straightforward, but he does promise to direct us along the path that leads to life and salvation. And so, in our trust in him, we acknowledge him. We trust in him instead of the ease of the path that we walk. We don't trust an idea or a concept or some elaborate plan. We acknowledge a person who resides with us through all the ups and downs of life. The withness of God is the foundation of who God is. We see this all the way through the scriptures. In the Old Testament, we see this in the Exodus, where the ups and downs of Israel's wanderings always occurred against the backdrop of God's glory in their midst. God surrounded the people of Israel with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. In the New Testament, we see this uniquely in the presence of Jesus Christ, the Word made flesh, who dwells amongst us. Jesus, our Lord, is the full manifestation of the withness of God. He is Emmanuel, God with us. And his cross testifies to the fact that there is no place in our life where his love and his grace does not meet us or lead us. And so we can look to that cross, whether it be a cross on the wall of a church or on the wall of our home or on a golden chain around our neck. We can look to that cross and remember that the one who was crucified is risen and has sent his Spirit to be with us always. Jesus has promised to be with us even to the end of the age. He is the Good Shepherd who travels with us in quiet pastures and in the darkest valleys. His glory encompasses us before and behind. There simply is no place in our lives where he is absent. And so if you find yourself walking through a time that is less than expected, where we are tempted just to call it quits, take a breath and remember these two things. The Lord directs you, and the Lord is with you. On these two truths can you base your life and your faith.
Your Daily Bible Verse is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Randy.
And we're from Salty Saints Podcast. We're a theology and apologetics podcast.
We hope to better equip you to be salt and light for your community. We hope that we can help you to go out and be a reflection of Jesus Christ to those around you, to your friends and your family, and especially to those that do not know Christ.
To find out more, subscribe at lifeaudio.com.